The room smelled like champagne, old money, and betrayal. On a rainy Thursday night in Geneva, the last remaining building of the Halden Children's Foundation was sold behind closed doors. For 112 years, that foundation had paid for hospitals, orphanages, and disaster relief for children who had nowhere else to go. But the heirs did not see history. They saw real estate. They saw yachts. They saw private jets. And when the final auction hammer came down, they smiled like they had just won the world. But across the room, I was watching a laptop screen, and one line of code had just turned red. Because the moment they sold the final asset, the foundation woke up. Their names were Julian, Serena, Marcus, and Elise Halden, the great-grandchildren of Elias Halden. Elias built the charity after losing his own daughter to poverty and illness. He vowed the fortune existed only for those with no fortune. But generations passed. The heirs grew up in mountain villas and glass penthouses. They only saw balance sheets. When the last trustee died, they finally had their chance. They called it financial restructuring. But behind locked doors, they called it what it really was: a liquidation. The first building they sold was a rehabilitation center in Austria. Serena signed the sale while texting about a new beach house in Sardinia. The second was a medical research fund. Marcus transferred it to a family office, then surfaced in Monaco in a private helicopter. One by one, assets were dissolved. Every time someone objected, Julian smiled and said, "We are protecting the legacy." But the legacy was bleeding. My name is Mara Voss. I was the compliance architect. My grandfather had served Elias Halden and told me, wealth disappears because honest people forget to guard it. Inside the 1912 governance papers, I found a clause. Not legal language, moral language. If the foundation was liquidated against its purpose, ownership must revert to the public. Most lawyers ignored it. I didn't. I helped rebuild the entire asset registry on a blockchain system. The heirs loved it. They thought it would help them sell faster. But buried deep was a self-executing smart contract. It did not care about family names or charm. It only watched one thing: intent. The logic was simple. If more than 70% of assets were redirected to private enrichment, the system would trigger an automatic transfer. Not a lawsuit, a reversion. The final meeting was in Zurich. Julian said modern philanthropy required flexibility. He used words like innovation and impact while moving money to shell companies. I sat at the end of the table, silent, because the system was already counting. 65%, 68%. And then Serena proposed selling the last hospital. The pediatric hospital in Lisbon was the reason the foundation existed. Elias built it after his own daughter died. But to the heirs, it was oceanfront land. The clause was simple. If more than 70% of assets were redirected toward private enrichment, the system would trigger an automatic transfer, not a lawsuit, a reversion, and the heirs never saw it coming. The Halden Pediatric Hospital in Lisbon was the reason the foundation existed. Julian signed its sale with a gold pen for a luxury hotel group, and the system crossed 69.9%. That night, they held a dinner in Monaco. They toasted to freedom from dead people's guilt. They believed the fortune had finally been released from morality. At 11:43 p.m., the threshold broke. No alarm sounded. A small line appeared on my screen. Breach of charitable intent confirmed. In seconds, the entire foundation treasury locked. Private transfer routes were frozen. By the time Julian lifted his wine glass in Monaco, the money was already gone. Not stolen, reclaimed. Julian's expression changed slowly. The kind, rich people feel when the world stops obeying them. He was asking why every account had just been locked by a self-executing order, and that was only the beginning. Marcus tried to pay the bill. Declined. Serena checked her phone. Every account connected to the foundation had been locked by a self-executing order. At midnight, the Halden Global Children's Trust went live. Billions began moving to clinics in flood zones and surgery centres in Nairobi. The heirs couldn't touch a cent. The public statement was only 4 paragraphs. It ended a dynasty. They didn't look like philanthropists anymore. They looked like thieves outsmarted by a line of code. Julian hired the best lawyers in Europe. Their confidence lasted 12 minutes. They realized Elias Halden hadn't left a fortune. He'd left stewardship, with conditions. The system had receipts, jet deposits, villa renovations, shell company transfers. The blockchain didn't accuse, it simply showed the truth in chronological order. The heirs weren't billionaires. They were over-leveraged pretenders waiting for a fortune they'd already lost. Their image was rented, their power was gone. Julian sent me one final message at 2 a.m. How do I reverse the contract? I told him, you can't reverse purpose. Money can be inherited, but legacy must be protected. The Lisbon hospital placed a bronze plaque at the entrance. This place exists because wealth without mercy is poverty of the soul. Justice isn't always a courtroom. Sometimes, it is one clause waiting patiently in the code. Purpose protected, justice served.
Select now another video in our series of family and company dramas. They are all powerful stories of people coming back stronger after they have been humiliated or hurt by family members or their management. Always make sure you stay strong. Let nobody ever tell you what you are worth. You know the best. Of course.